Let's analyze the situation, investigate the motivation, and utilize the inspiration and discover the soul of us. The soul of us.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Welcome, 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 welcome. How are you guys this evening? This rainy Memphis Friday. Hopefully everybody's having a good Friday. We're gonna go ahead and get started with our usual episode of Soul of Us. All right. But we got a great episode today. Welcome everybody coming to us. We're going to stream today off of Facebook. We're going to do it a little different. We ain't going to go on Instagram today, but everybody who's on Facebook with us, welcome. Thank you if you're here. So today's episode of Soul of Us will be about selfishness versus empathy, empathy versus selfishness. Okay, so we've been talking about um, emotional wellness and the different things that impact our emotional wellness. So, whether that be trauma, whether that be parenting and how we were raised, whether that be our own perceptions of things, um, it could be, our episodes have been very deep, but definitely outlining our own emotional literacy as well. Like, how do we are we able to identify, label, read our own emotions, and integrate them in a way that's healthy or allows for us to interact with life in a healthy way. So, just being able to get this information out there is a privilege for me. This information not only helps me and has helped me along my way, my journey of becoming emotionally well, but I know for sure that it's helped a lot of people around me, and it's helping people. So, we're going to continue with this theme of giving away these tips on how to deal with certain situations and how we can improve our emotional wellness. So today we're going to deal with selfishness versus empathy, right? Also, how to spot a narcissist. How to spot a narcissist. Okay. So, welcome, welcome. If you're in here watching, I hope everything's going well with you. So let's get it started. So when you think of selfishness or empathy, we got to first start to define these things. We got to define them in a way that is, simple enough for us to comprehend and relate to. So we know what we're really dealing with, and we have a real understanding of those things. So we're going to start with defining, uh, let's start with defining selfishness or selfish, because selfishness is the act of being selfish, right? So selfishness or selfish, lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. Again, selfish, lacking consideration for others, concerned only with one's own personal profit or pleasure, on one's own gain, only worried about you, yourself, and I. Selfish. Okay. All right. So selfish, I think most of us understand what that means. I think we felt that in our life. Maybe it be a part of your trauma. But we're gonna talk about selfishness as it looks in life, because we have to be self-aware, also socially aware, so we can make responsible decisions, right? So we got to understand how selfishness impacts us, and what is a good solution to selfishness is empathy. So I want to define empathy before we go into the discussion, in depth, and fully. and get heavy with it. Want everybody to understand what empathy means, just like we define selfishness. So, empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Again, empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So, when we think of that's like the total opposite of selfish. Like, selfish is to be really concerned only with your pleasure, your feelings, your emotions. Um, Whereas the empathy is to be able to understand and share the feelings of another, to be able to put yourself in their shoes. So that's why it's selfishness versus empathy, because the world we live in is full of, beautiful people and beautiful stories and a lot of testimonies. And me being very transparent, I've grown up in Philadelphia, which is home of that selfish mentality. I got to get it for me. It's a dog eat dog world. It's me, myself. It's all about me. And it hardens you. You think that people are against you, and you become selfish. You think about me. I gotta have mine. You protect yours. It's a mentality. And I know that I had to grow. Going from up north, and having that concrete mentality to down south, where you know culture is different. It's more sharing. It's more family oriented. It's different in the way that problems are handled and issues, conflict resolved. So, it was me. I had to wake up to my own selfish um, nature, my own selfish wants, because everyone has it. Because as a child, we have to learn all of these things, and sometimes we're not taught what it means to be selfish because we watch parents. Like we said, parenting impacts us. Go back and listen to the last episode, watch the last episode on parenting versus how you was raised, and the impacts of that. So children learn from not what you say, but what you do. And if your household was selfish, where you watched your parents be more concerned about their needs and what they want and how their life is going, or they weren't understanding of your emotions as a child, and weren't there present for you emotionally, or, understand you physically, you know, those things translate into children becoming adulthood. See, we normalize that behavior. And then what it does is allow for us to repeat that behavior. So we repeat that behavior like it's nothing, like it's nothing, right? So when we repeat that behavior, it becomes a culture of selfishness because, well, that's how my mama or that's how my daddy, and what's good for the goose is always good for the gander. I think that's how our minds really compute our pain. It's like it's that moral injury, as we've spoken before in past episodes. Like once you've seen or been exposed to something for so long, for such a repeated, occurrence, like it's become chronic. You know, we can fight it and fight it for so long, but most of the times we either give up or give in. And when we give in, we become, the very thing that we're fighting. So, selfishness is something that is learned, as I'm saying, just like empathy is something that is learned, and it's innate in some people. Some people are naturally selfish, or some people are naturally empathetic. I mean, it's not always a learned thing, like with a parent or an environment. Some people's characters, just who they are and how their chemical makeup, brain, however you want to say a person is made, that's just who they are. And then they have to learn self awareness. They have to learn how to make responsible decisions, like how to be, a good person, not be selfish, to be empathetic, be able to understand other people's, feelings and emotions. Because, you know, we live in a time where we hear these terms, empathy. We hear narcissists. We hear um, gaslighting. Uh, you know, we just live in a time where people are very much one track mind. We don't consider each other's emotions, consider each other's traumas, their past. We're very much we're traumatized as a people, and we respond out of PTSD style. Our trauma responses are fight, flight, freeze, fawn, as we've talked about. So whether it's naturally defend yourself, or to shut down, um, or is it to people please, however you get through traumatic situations with people, or situations that you feel a threat, or not safe. Um, so we have to really get into that as a people, and stop kind of just moving through life and like normalizing this behavior. So we're normalizing narcissistic, selfish behavior, and we're not teaching empathy. And I understand that, like, we said, we talked about racism and the impact of racism on our emotional health. And at the root of racism is selfishness, or selfish, being selfish. So the impact of the dominant culture of America is being selfish. Capitalism is about capitalizing on, each other, on items, on commodities and people. So the very the very paradigm that we live in America, that we intake daily, breeds being selfish. Um, Whether you watch the news and it's the crime over and over, if you watch the movies where it's all about the hero, or the bullies, it's very much so a selfish culture, and we don't teach empathy. So we have division. We have a culture of hate, a culture of uh, uh, disrespect, just not a culture of love, not a culture of connection. These are the things when you get selfish versus empathy. When you have that ability to be empathetic, meaning to put yourselves in the shoes of another and understand what they're going through, and you may be able to feel their pain or feel their plight, you're then you can maybe compelled to do something, or to help, or to be understanding, and just be an ear to listen, or a hand to help, or a hug. So, you know, empathy can heal a lot of situations that selfishness would be like gasoline. And you see that in our culture, that this selfishness is like gasoline on situations. People call it pride, people call it ego, uh you know um people call it pain. It's their hurt, it's their trauma. It's all different types of ways to explain it, but it's not really just about explaining. It's about the impact of being selfish, and not just about materially. We're always talking about on an emotional level. Like when you come to Soul of Us, just know that we are tackling issues that deal with our emotions, because we are human beings. And at the root level, you operate through your emotions. Whether you eating a piece of pizza and that thing tasting good, it's involving your emotions. If you talking about you being in an intimate relation, it's involving your emotions. We so Soul of Us is all about us as human beings, understanding our emotions, understanding how society impacts our emotions, how the world impacts our emotions, and what we can do to improve our emotional wellness, to improve, our connection with the world, connection with people, to become more self aware, socially aware, be able to relation build in positive ways. It's all about emotional literacy, understanding our emotions, being able to identify, read them, and integrate them so we can respond in healthy ways. So we have to understand selfishness. Selfishness is at the root of, why we live in a society where marriage is at, under attack. We live in a society where racism is blatant and in your face, and it's implicit bias where I don't know you, but because you look a certain way, I believe you to be this, or I believe I gotta watch you, or this is it's so much selfishness is at the root because you're not empathetic, you're not moving through that with the compassion, and we're supposed to be compassionate individuals with living in a religious world, whatever you preach or practice, at the root is love, at the root is compassion, at the root is empathy. But we allow the world to corrupt us, we allow trauma to change us and our lenses on the world, and we become morally injured, and we operate through those injuries. So hurting people becomes the mantra, and it's on autopilot. You're selfish. I gotta protect me. I gotta be hardcore. I gotta think about myself because nobody else gonna think about me. And that's a hard place to live because you're in a world full of 7.8, 7.5 billion people. You know what I'm saying? So you're constantly going to be having to think about just you if you're not able to be vulnerable, if you're not able to connect and allow for love and allow for positivity in your life. And that's where we get anxiety. That's where we get depression. And we get attack of the mental, because we're not able to deal with reality. We're not able to connect with authentic, authentic feeling, right? We're stuck in the past. We're stuck in what happened to us, and it creates a shell around us that allows for our selfish behavior, right? And as an empathetic person, I understand these things from an empathetic point of view. So I don't talk about, a lot of selfish individuals, selfish behavior is learned behavior. Like again, we have people who are naturally selfish, just like we have people who are naturally empathetic. But we got to understand that a lot of people start off good. A lot of people start off wholesome and pure, and through trauma, through watching the evil around them, the disrespect, the ignorance around them, it shapes them, and they may have never been exposed to the opposite. So when you see it over and over and over and over, and it becomes them and they become it's almost like it's who they are now, and it is a comfortable space. And what we know is that people are very much comfortable um with things as they are versus comfortable with what comes with change, because whatever space you're in, that space. Like we said, people who have been traumatized, they create their own responses to the moral injury. So, like, whether it's the person who's, in fight all the time, can't have a conversation, can't connect. That's a selfish person. Not saying that they're natural, that they're just selfish, but they're not allowing themselves to connect. They're really only worried about what they are, who they are, and what they've been through. That's not a good place to come from if you want to connect. But that's the selfish world that we live in, right? Or we have the flight, the person who's going to ghost you, the person who's going to you're going to run, not going to listen, can't. That's another, because you're not taking into consideration your feelings, being authentic, being tapped into what you really trying to give to this person. You right? So we end up having these conflicts with people because of our responses, and or we create for our own cycles because of our own selfishness. And it's the selfishness that's in response to what you've been through, right? So that also the person who's the freeze and the fawn, those awful, these things right now can be your injury. But when we rely on those things, when they become our personality, despite the harm that they cause, and we understand, when we get that self awareness, and we start to understand that I have been hurt, and because I have been hurt, I do certain things, and these things also cause hurt. And and that's the empathy that you're going to extend to yourself first, to put yourself in your own shoes, so you can then start to heal. Because our healing, it comes from our self-awareness, our social awareness, right? So you have to first understand who who are you? Why are you? What is your response to your hurt, to your trauma? Why is selfishness maybe at the root of everything that you deal with? And us, I'm not calling anyone who's been through trauma or has a traumatic response selfish. I'm just saying that we are in a warp time machine, the twilight zone, where this hurting people, us being stuck in our traumatic responses, like that's who we are, not able to operate in a healthy, pure, open, vulnerable way. Is That's what we're talking about. That's what we're honing in on right now. So it's not to demonize anyone. Everything we're saying is to help, to bring about a clear eye view, to bring about understanding um, to the situation. Because our responses to living in a selfish society, you know, like I said, whether it's the freeze or the fawn, because if you're a people pleaser or you're a person who's codependent, those are negative impacts as well. That's selfish. You don't understand the impact of your codependency on a person's life. And we have so many aspects of that. The people pleaser, the inauthenticity, the unauthentic person. When you people please, you're not being authentic to you, you're not being authentic to them. That's creating for more harm, more selfishness. So we want to be empathetic. We want to first extend empathy to ourselves. First, allow yourself to understand, right, and perceive your feelings, the hurt, the joy, the happiness, the pain, all of those things, the feelings. Feel those things, feel them, but also try to understand what is at the root of it. Why? You understand? And then you are able to, once you start to understand what's at the root, we're able to then sit back and understand how can we move forward. When we look at what's at the root of our behaviors, right? Right? Because we're talking about selfishness versus empathy. So why would I be empathetic? Why would I be selfish? So I'm understanding our responses to things, and how we, like we said, how our ego, how our pride gets in the way. How we don't choose love. How do we choose connection? And this is when we start talking about selfishness versus empathy, because we're just talking about that at the root of us connecting, building good relations, making good decisions, right? Just being able to regulate ourselves. We got to be empathetic. See, when you selfish, you're not going to regulate yourself. That's when you're going to go 0 to 100 real quick, because you don't care. Like we define selfishness. Like selfish is the person who's only concerned with their pain, their pleasure, their profit, their gain, right? So that's a person in the moment who's willing to get upset, cuss you out, talk to you bad, treat you any type of way because they're selfish. They're not able to. And that's how you can spot a narcissist, because the narcissist is the person who does not have the ability or won't allow themselves to empathize in an authentic, genuine way and then respond in a healthy way. Everything is for their gain, everything is for their manipulation, right? And that's the world we're talking about. So that's how you spot a narcissist or you spot a selfish person, is because they're willing to do harm to you, watch you be affected, and it doesn't impact them. They're not able to be lead with love, or they see you hurt, but it's all about them getting the win. It's all about them being right. It's all about their image, power, strength, domination. That's what we're talking about. We need more empathy. So we need to teach empathy in our children. And we need to express empathy, not selfishness, being more worried about your feelings, more worried about your well-being, and as parents, this is the root, they watch it. We have a single parent generation. So we watch this pride. We watch this ego, this selfishness. We're born in it. Where we got parents who don't even have the ability to talk. We have parents that choose their lives over children. And the children have to grow up eating that. Eating that. What do they do with that? Right? So they become it. If it happened to me, it's good for someone else. And that's what we see, these fatherless children, or, you know, motherless children, or children that are being spoiled because of lack. You know, you see the selfishness. They become entitled. It just breeds this generation of children that don't believe in connection, marriage, that don't believe in family because of selfish individuals, because of a selfish culture of me, myself, and I, and parents not being emotionally available, them not being there for their children. And a lot of it is there due to their own harm and unprocessed feelings and unprocessed emotions. And what we see in America is that America has a lot of health issues. And we know that health is related to stress, and stress is related to your emotions. So we also know that our emotions are at a level that impact us and our whole body. Like, they impact our mind, our body, and our spirit. So our emotions, if they're strong enough and held on too long enough, then become physical ailments or physical behaviors, whether it's OCD, whether it's eating disorders, overweight, you name it. Our emotions dictate a lot of majority of our life. So we have to understand why it's important to heal through empathy. Why it's important, even if you've been a narcissist person and you watching this right now, you listening to this right now, and you know to yourself, I've been selfish. That's a start right there. You saying I've been selfish. Like, stand there and think about, okay, when I say I've been selfish, think about how that made whoever was involved in that experience, a situation, how it made them feel. Just think about that. So if you know that you hurt them and they were hurt, how did it make? Oh, it made them feel little. It may have made them feel invalidated. It may have made them feel left out, alone, or it may have made them feel dominated. So and if you know how that feels personally, and it maybe not feel good to you, what is the next step? Is that the life that you want for you? We have to set our values. Individuals cannot just be in autopilot, because when we in autopilot, we do selfish things. We have to be self-aware. We have to take a pause for the cause and start to understand the impact of our trauma, the impact of our traumatic responses, and how, yeah, that may how you respond to things, but it's not just about you. It's not just about you. It's about us. It's a we, not me mentality. So we got to connect. We got to be able to relationship build in a positive way. The only way to do that is to be able to regulate ourselves. You got to respond to the moment in a positive, vulnerable way, not respond to the moment because you were projecting your past lived experiences on everything. Everybody's not going to be the situation that happened to you when you were 9. Everybody's not going to be like your boss from your job. Everybody's not going to be like your mom, your dad, your uncle. Everybody's not going to be like them. And while they may have hurt you, while they may have put you in a place of darkness, while they may have taken a piece of your innocence, they didn't take who you are. Let them be who they are. That is not who you are. Don't let that shape you in a negative way, because that's what they wanted. That's what selfishness breeds, more selfishness. So we have to sit back and heal through empathy. And that empathy first has to be extended to oneself. Oneself, we got to empathize with ourselves and our own story and our own testimony, because you cannot extend anything to anyone else that you have not first extended to yourself. So this empathy has to come with self-awareness, self-regulation, good decision making, some social awareness in there, right? And I keep throwing those. That's the principles that we social awareness. I mean, social emotional learning. In adults we need it because we're molding our children to breed more selfishness, and we want to be more empathetic because that builds a world of compassion, a world of good mental health, a world of good physical health. Like I said, that person who's going 0 to 100, who's ready to kill, steal, and rob, they've probably been harmed or they're naturally selfish. So this world validates that. That that's what we're saying. In order to combat that, we need to express more love, more compassion. Maybe that person who's like that never received any compassion, maybe never received any empathy. So let's start there. Let's start with maybe trying to heal that individual versus hitting them with even more pain, even more of what caused the selfishness in the first place. And I'm not saying that just allow for people to be who they are and just empathy without boundaries. No, empathy has to have boundaries. You have to understand what because we can't fix people out of an act of love. We can only fix ourselves and extend them to them what we extend to ourselves, that empathy and that love. I love myself so I can love others. I love and understand myself so it gives me the ability to love and understand others. And that's at the root of human connection. So when people lack that love or that connection with themselves due to what they've been through, due to situations that they've been exposed to, all of those things, when we start talking about trauma or learned behavior or moral injury, this is what shapes them. This is why their behavior is what it is. So we have to set that boundary, and that boundary is set through action. We don't have to just say this is what I want or this is what I will. No, you can empathize, but if a person is not in the mode of extending empathy to you as well through you, and I mean what I mean by that is understanding what they are receiving, right? So knowing when a person's going through something and you do help them or you extend them empathy, it's always a good thing to take heed on how they receive your help, how they receive your empathy, and it's how it impacts them. And when you send empathy to a person and they kind of don't take it, they take it for granted, or they, you get them the benefit of the doubt, and they have a continual disposition, or uh it's like you get the feeling of I'm being used or I'm being abused. Like that's where you have to set your boundary. Go with your gut. Because again, this is selfishness versus empathy. So that pool of selfishness, again, even on the strongest empathetic person, can be very, very heavy. Because again, we're still human. No one is perfect. So you have to set your boundaries. And that's why we're talking about these things, because we want to be able to understand um, what we're dealing with, so then we can make better decisions. And so that's why we define selfishness and we define empathy, and we talked about the impact of selfishness, talked about the impact of um, on an emotional level, how our own traumas lead to selfish behavior. And we may not even know that we're being selfish, but we're not understanding why we're not being, we may not know that we're being selfish because we're not being empathetic. And that's why we talked about empathy. And we define empathy, what is um the ability to share or understand one's emotions or another's emotions, to put yourself in their shoes and what that feels like. And I really want you guys to understand that empathy is a great equalizer, especially for you guys who may, like when we're defining a narcissist, if you've ever dealt with the narcissist, if you are a narcissist and you're finally figuring out I'm a selfish individual, I like to gaslight, I like to, I'm a psychological abuser because I've been psychologically abused. And we're going to define that. We get into that. This is why I'm in the podcast is I'm going to give out some real definitions of what this selfishness looks like. So we can start to empathize with these people, empathize with the impact of it. So we can then start to heal and become agents of, positivity and growth. Okay. So again, I appreciate you guys for coming through. If y'all here with me on the live, we're about to get real, you know, deep into this selfishness, especially for those who want the help, want to change, want some understanding, or you may know someone who's going through it. This is what the podcast is about. We hear your favorite mental health coach, Hanif Akinyemi. So let's start with this. Signs of psychological abuse, like which breeds this selfishness, right? And people, we don't understand why people do it, right? But let's start to empathize. But we first going to start with what it look like. What does selfishness look like, right? Hold on. So this selfishness can look like. So have you ever been in a situation where a person may be yelling at you, treating you like you're worthless, treating you less than, and making you feel, low self esteem, and just feel real crappy. And then in the next moment or next day, they really loving on you. They love bombing you. They're all oh man, I that's part of this narcissistic behavior. That's that selfishness. See, that's all personal gain. They're willing to abuse you mentally, abuse you spiritually, but then come back when they want you, when they need some connection. Well, I'm gonna love on you. So it's all about their satisfaction. because there was satisfaction in dominating you. There was satisfaction in making you feel less than. But then there's also satisfaction in loving on you because now I get what I want when I want. You know, I was just playing like the shit. Now I was just, I love you. And so we have to be aware of what this selfishness looks like. See, and this narcissistic behavior, and be able to extend empathy because you're going to understand who they are so that you can move in a different direction. So you can understand, put yourself in their shoes. This is why now you understand who they are and why they are, and you understand why this is not for you, right? So let's keep it going. What's some more behaviors? Let's be aware of the gaslighting. The gaslighting make you feel or disbelieve reality or feel like you're using grasp on your reality. So that selfishness again. They're more worried about what they feel and being right and what that looks like, right? So they'll lie, they'll consistently lie to avoid responsibility. Um, they'll just make you feel like you're at fault when you know that this is the truth. This is what's going on. Like, these are the things that are psychologically, abusive. And, it's the, and it is she says my issue is hurt. It's hurt and I can't move past that hurt. And that's the thing. That's why we have to understand, that's why we're talking about what is it that we are going through. So I know we hurt and we identify this hurt. We identify this behavior. So we then can identify who's doing it to us, whether we're doing it, and then we can move in the right direction because healing is a day at a time. Healing is a moment at a time, but it takes, again, like we keep saying, the self-awareness, the social awareness. And see, that's all around us with these behaviors where, like we're saying, these people have a lack of interest in the things that you want. They're more concerned about what they want, or people who have a huge sense of entitlement. You owe them everything, and they owe you nothing. You would be nowhere without them. You would you're not going to be able to grow, be successful without them. They intentionally sabotage your relationships, intentionally sabotage. Like you said, this is the gaslighter. This is the the selfish individual, making you the enemy for having feelings, just for telling them, I felt this way, you're a bad person, and they react that way. See, this is what characterized that emotional selfishness, the narcissistic behavior. And when we talk about narcissists, we want to save these people from themselves because a lot of these people be lonely at the end of the day because narcissist people raise narcissist people. And like I said in the beginning, you're not able to connect with the world. You're not able to connect with people when you're only chiefly concerned with your emotions, with your satisfaction. You're not having genuine, authentic connection. That doesn't leave you with the feeling of love. Even though you may feel this, you know, um, you may feel this, artificial feeling of love, artificial feeling of gratification or sad, but that's not long lived. It's not sustainable. That's why people continue the behavior, because then that's what gets them their thrills, because they don't know how to connect in an authentic way, um in a empathetic way, to have compassion. All they know is, well, I just got to feel this way. And again, we have to always put it out there that we all become addicted in some respects to our behaviors, whether it's food, whether it's your pleasure. You like to repeat those things. You like to, we have a way of being involved with things as people, and it's repetitious. So if you have an emotional response, most often this is how you go. This is your normal go-to. You don't even think about it. It's how your brain is wired. It's how your nervous system is wired. So this is the thing with people who are selfish. They're narcissists. They've been through these things, and it's wired their brains to respond in such a certain way, and they've never learned or been exposed, or even if they haven't made that choice. So we as people, have to understand these things so that we can we can then share the information and continually share it and hold people accountable, holding people accountable, not normalizing this behavior. Because when we don't know that we don't know, we think that it is what it is. We like we again we normalize the behavior. We make it like it's okay. I'll deal with it. Everybody's dealing. No, it's not okay. You don't have to deal with it. This is what you're dealing with. There's a name for it. You have a feeling that you can attach to that name now. You have an understanding. You can put that out there to that person now. This is what you're doing. This is how I feel. If they can't respond in the way that they need to, then you can make the responsible, healthy decision. And that's what we have to start teaching ourselves, because we ultimately have to teach our children these things. You know, you don't have to accept behavior. You don't have to accept anything that harms you, right? So but we have to understand what it is that is going on so we don't continually put ourselves in those positions of harm or attract that harm due to our own responses, due to our own lack of understanding, because everything that we go through is really related. It's really, really connected in a way of cause and effect, magnetic attraction. Our thoughts, our actions, our being are all connected, right? So if we think negative, most likely our situations will be negative. If we think positive, most likely our situations will be positive. We'll be able to see the opportunity. We'll be able to see the solutions, right? And we have to keep that understanding in the forefront of our lives, as we heal our emotions, because our perception, our attitude is going to determine our altitude. So, understanding who we are and what we do and how we interact with the world. Again, self awareness, because we're talking about how to spot a narcissist. And maybe that narcissist might be you, or maybe that narcissist might be the person you're laying next to, or that maybe that narcissist might be that person who raised you, or maybe that narcissist might be the person who's at your job, right? So now you know what it looks like in those feelings. You're able to articulate yourself. If not, just slow it down, rewind the tape, listen to these things about what these things look like, and make the choice not to deal with it, or make the choice to understand, empathize with yourself first. How you feel. What are you going to do about it? Why you feel this way? Next thing you want to do is express yourself. Don't hold on to those feelings. Express yourself, right? And if those people aren't able to empathize with you, extend you compassion, maybe that's not the place for you. Maybe those aren't the people for you. Because again, you don't want to become selfish due to your environment of selfishness. Because that selfishness like fire. Fire begets fire. It's going to burn. It's going to keep burning. Everything that it touches is going to become a part of the fire. And that's like selfishness. So we're teaching our kids, we're teaching, society is just reinforcing the selfishness everywhere we go. Every time we turn around, you're seeing more and more of this me, myself, and I. Again, especially in the communities of color, when you think about, it's very saddening when you think about, how in less than 100 years we go from a society of family, of mother and father and children, despite it all, despite everything in communities of color, despite racism, slavery, Jim Crow, all of that, you still had the essence of family. And in less than 100 years, you have no family. Family is defined by, people who you associate with. It's not the same anymore. It's not children growing up seeing positive examples of family and love and conflict resolution and building between two individuals. It's not there anymore. So what we do is we have a society where it's more about material, it's more about financial, um, my own desires, my own pleasures, my own dreams. Because family, you have to be somewhat, you have to be empathetic, compassionate. You have to be a person who loves in a healthy way. And that's why a lot of people don't have family in 2021, because you're not able to think about anybody else but themselves, flat out. They give a false sense of it, and they get gratification through their own selfish desires. So, man, we just got to wake up. We got to wake up. We got to spread this information. We got to keep people aware, and we got to start with ourselves. Because if you're going to make a change, you're going to make that change in your life first. Because we all got selfish tendencies. We all got things that we can work on. We can all be a little bit more empathetic. We can all listen a little bit more. We can all love a little bit more. And that's what we all about here at Soul of Us, with your favorite mental health coach. You know what I'm saying? We're just making sure you guys understand that your emotions are important, so you don't have to deal with consistent harm that's going to change you and make you selfish and not give you the ability to be empathetic, because you hear that a lot. Yeah, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I've been. It's not about that. It's about us understanding each other and what each other been through. Don't cause more harm. Don't cause more harm. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the importance and real meaning of family has changed, and we need that back. Yes, because family is the institution that raises good people. The streets don't raise good people. School doesn't raise good people, right? Church isn't like it used to be. You know, nothing's like it used to be. But the family is the first institution that our children, that we grow up and grow through. So if we say we in a culture of selfishness, most times it's because our families didn't put that in us. We watching our family be selfish. We watching them do harm to each other and not reconcile and fall apart, and watching mental illness just run rampant and addiction, and like, again, we are children of the crack era. That is a very selfish era, because you got to think how addiction breeds selfishness. You only worried about you getting high. You're not worried about how that impacts your children. Not worried about how that impacts your family. You know, and again, we can be empathetic to see a lot of those folks that got like that they was trying to escape themselves, but at the same time, the impact. It's all about the impact of their selfishness. So we just gotta, keep being aware, keep holding each other accountable, holding ourselves accountable to being empathetic and compassionate, and getting out of this selfishness. Extending yourself some empathy first. And I think I've repeated that about 8 times, because I just think I want, anybody listen to this to first extend the empathy to you. Like, what you've been through matters. How it impacted you matters. It's what allowed you to become who you are. And you understanding that will allow you to grow and to change and to set new values, set new boundaries, and understand what those are. So, I appreciate, the opportunity to be able to give this information out. And it's not just something I learned, it's something I lived. That's why this is the soul of us, because this is my soul that I'm pouring into this. And I'm trying to bring us to a unified stance, bring us together to a we not me mentality. Even those who are selfish, the narcissists, there's a place. You know, we don't have to give up on people. We have to have hope. We have to have belief that we can get better through understanding, through commitment, through practice, right? So this has been a major episode, Soul of Us coming to you, bringing that heat, so you can improve your emotionals, get ready, get right, live your life to the fullest. Where you're not crying in the corner, you're able to smile and really smile and feel it deep and connect on a deep level. That's what we're all about over here. Trauma awareness, social emotional learning. So appreciate you guys for checking us out. We were on Facebook today, but check out the Instagram. We're gonna go ahead and put that banner up. Yeah, where we go? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so check us out, on Instagram at Soul of Unified Stance, on YouTube, Soul of Us Podcast, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, uh, Anchor, whatever you use. Check us out. But tap in to the Instagram daily, because that's where the reels go. That's where, also on TikTok at Soul of Us. We're giving out the wellness tips, just on a daily inspiration, because we want people to get this. We want them to spread the positivity, the education. And if you need a mental health coach, reach out. If you're looking to improve your emotional wellness, reach out. That's what Soul of Us is about. Unified Stands Family Services. We are here as your resource broker, as well as your mental health coach. If we can't help you in the way that you need, we can refer you to the places that can. So please reach out through whatever social media, Facebook, Instagram, email, all that. So just holler at us. Stay good, stay positive, lead with love, because love wins always. Even in your worst moment, if you lead with love, you can repair anything. Again, if you lead with love, you can repair anything. So you people have a good evening, good evening, good weekend. I hope everybody's doing well. And I love you guys. Again, it's been a pleasure, a privilege to get on here each week and do an episode of Soul of Us. You guys have a good one. Peace and blessings, everyone.